When you start a podcast, nobody warns you about what the hardest part is about running a podcast. And that is not the content itself, because you can have all the content in the world. You can have content for years. But what is the hardest part of running a show? That is what happens behind the scenes. What happens before and after you hit record. The scheduling, the follow-ups, the files that need to go somewhere. And if you have a team, the team that needs direction. And the workflow, it doesn't exist yet. And that's where most shows fall apart. It's not at the mic, it's what goes on behind it. And that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about the operational side of podcasting, the part that most don't even talk about or don't even show up in a way to discuss this topic. And this is what I want to keep bringing to light, is the operational side of podcasting. And this is where a lot of hosts struggle. I see this often. It's not with the content ideas. It's not with their interviews. They may have great guests on their shows. It's not with the recording itself. It's the everything else. The invisible work that just keeps piling up when there is no real structure holding it together. Today, we're going to name that. We're going to figure out what that is. We're going to look at exactly where the work lives, why it breaks down, and what it actually takes to get a handle on it. Because once you see it clearly in front of you, right in front of you, map it out on a whiteboard, project management tool, and look at everything at a bird's eye view and look and see where you can fix that problem. Now, before we get into it, I want to talk to you all about the podcast operations audit. I see that a lot of the times when you might have a show, you're a few episodes in, you're just starting out, and you're not really ready to hire an operations manager for your podcast, and that's okay. And this is why I'm offering this audit at a very low cost way to work with me, because I know that many out there have questions about how the workflows happen, how to get systems set up. So we're going to have a conversation. We'll sit for maybe an hour and we'll have a conversation about what your podcast looks like. And we'll look at everything at a bird's eye view. We'll get a plan set in place so that you're able to get your show out when it's supposed to go out, because we want to stay consistent. We want our message to be heard. And I know that you have an amazing message to be shared. And I want to be able to sit with you and have this conversation so that we can get this sorted out and hit the ground running. So you can find that information down in the show notes. So after you're done listening to that, go look at that link, read the information, and then if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. Now let's have a conversation about the behind the scenes work no one warns you about. I want to start here. The work behind a podcast episode is more than most people account for when they start. You record an episode. Great. It's recorded. But before that, someone had to manage the production, create the workflow, if there's even one, right? Prep the outline, confirm the guest when you have interviews. And then after you record, somebody has to edit that episode, write the show notes, upload it, format the description, pull the clips, write the social media posts, get that newsletter out, right? It sounds like a lot, because it is a lot. But again, if you set up the backend in a way that is simple and makes sense for your show, then you wouldn't have to worry about it. You can plan ahead, batch record if you want, get those things out on time, making sure you're doing what you want to do. When you're doing it all yourself, it starts to feel like the podcast is running you instead of the other way around. And when you bring on help without any systems, the chaos just gets shared. So you hire somebody to edit your podcast episode. You get somebody to write show notes, somebody to promote your show, whatever that looks like for you. But if there's no system set in place, everybody's running around not knowing what to do. You have to simply acknowledge that the workload is real and it deserves structure. It's not just content, it's operations. You have to figure out that mindset of like, okay, how is this going to work in terms of my busy schedule? You might have a 9 to 5. You might have a business. You might have a family. Whatever that looks like, you have to work around that to make sure that everything is set up to where you're not feeling like you're running around trying to get everything together the night before. Here's what I've seen happen over and over again. The host is passionate. They know what they want to share. They have this message they need to get out there. The content is good, the audience starts growing, and then the show just stops. And that's when people talk about the podcast fade. You have 5 episodes out, you have 10 episodes out, and then it just goes bye-bye. Like it's not even there anymore. And 9 times out of 10, it's not the content problem, it's the operations problem. When there's no defined workflow, no clear process of how the episode moves from idea to publish, everything depends on you, on your energy, on your memory. And both of those are inconsistent. And that's just what happens when systems don't exist. A workflow is going to give you that backbone. It's going to give you that structure. It's going to give you that way of, okay, this month we have episodes 5, 6, 7 going out. How do I plan for this? Okay, so at the beginning of the month, you might batch everything. And then maybe a couple days later, you start to get your editor or yourself to edit and then go down the task list of your show notes, the clips, social media graphics, whatever it looks like for your show. And I keep saying for your show because every podcast out there has a different system on how they structure their show, depending on why they're doing their show, how they're promoting it. Are they just doing it all by themselves? Do they have a team? So everybody is going to have a different way of doing things. But whatever works for you in a simple system, it does not have to be complicated. Just make sure that you have some sort of structure so that you're able to have your episode go live on a Wednesday morning when that's when you want it to go live. This is for those hosts that are thinking about hiring. You know, maybe in a month or 2, you're ready to hire. Hiring someone to support your podcast is a great move. But if you had someone on your team in a role without any structure behind it, you're going to set both of you up for frustration. You're going to get upset because your editor didn't edit it on time. But did you give a clear due date? Your show notes are not in your voice, but did you give the brand guidelines to your writer? They don't know what winning looks like. You don't know how to evaluate if things go well. And suddenly managing the team feels harder than just doing it yourself. And I've seen this happen too. Somebody hires a team, no structure, the host gets frustrated, gives up on them, and it's like, well, I'll do it myself. That's a problem on the host side. You have to make sure everything is set up, at least something is set up before you just bring on someone. Your best episode does not start at the mic. It starts at the planning stage, the prepping, the process that happens before you even press record. And your show's longevity doesn't live in the content either. It lives in the operations and whether your backend is set up in a way that can sustain what you're building. This isn't about being rigid, being harsh. It's not being about micromanaging, any of that. It's about building something that doesn't require you to hold it together. Yes, when you start out, you are doing it by yourself, but knowing that in the long run, if you need to hire somebody, they should be able to do a task without you over their shoulder because nobody likes to be micromanaged. So again, you need to make sure everything is set up. Think about this. A lot of podcast hosts are carrying more than they should. Not because they're doing anything wrong, but because no one ever told them that behind the scenes side of your podcast needs just as much attention as the content side. Question for you. When you go online, on Instagram, on Threads, on LinkedIn, what are people talking about when they're talking about a podcast? They're talking about the content. They're talking about marketing. They're talking about how to grow your show. They're talking about editing. But what comes before that? It is the operations. And again, I'm going to keep talking about this because I believe that this needs to be brought up more often. And we need to have more thoughts, more conversations. I want to hear opinions on this. I want to hear your thoughts on the operations side of things too. Maybe that's just the way that my brain works, the way that I run my business, being an operations manager, being in the podcast space for so long, that I'm just like, okay, this needs to be delegated. This needs a workflow. This needs a standard operating procedure. Just think about that for a minute. And then if you're like, whoa, I see that, I would love to hear your thoughts. So leave with this today. Your podcast will not run on passion alone. Passion gets you started. Your passion can keep you going, but what's going to help are those systems. Don't forget to check out that audit I was talking about earlier, the podcast operations audit. Go ahead and just read over the information. And that information is going to be in the show notes. And if you have any questions about anything that we've talked about today or the podcast operations audit, please reach out to me. And all of the information is going to be down in the description. And I will talk to you later.